welcome back. I hope you've remembered to put in any of your comments in our Facebook page, Edel TV Halisi, and also at our YouTube channel, Edel TV 001. We were just talking about sex education for anyone who's joining us right now. We're talking about sex education in the Kenyan context and what does sex education really entails. Just before we went for the break, we were talking about body awareness. Coach.
Body awareness. At this teenage age, things are focused on this teenage, especially the boy, the girl, at that tender age. And so the girl should be aware that her body will not entertain any touches. A touch from a fellow girl is different from a touch by a boy.
Yes.
Do you remember when we were kids? We could play freely, with different sexes.
Yes.
But at some age, we sieve it. You sieve who plays with you and to what level, to what extent. Because kids at 5 years, 3 years, 7 years, they can easily touch and no feelings are evoked.
Yeah.
But at your age, just a simple touch and the things start changing. So these teenagers, they should be made aware.
Yeah.
Actually, that's why this sex education is best provided by parents.
Yes.
On their children. So as they teach them, kuna vitu vingine you do when you are with your mom.
Yeah.
You don't even allow your
Brother
dad
or your dad
to see you come out of the bafu umejifunga half. Yeah.
Okay.
And all that. That's now body awareness.
Yeah, I think it's also at this point that I would want to say, the moment these changes start taking place, as a girl, especially the girls, usikubali kuguzwa. I see girls who go to day schools and then they have to take matatus, alafu saa zile donda nakwambia ingia. Really, girls should really avoid that in all the best way they can, at all cost. You shouldn't just let anyone touch you. You shouldn't just let any stranger at that, because it's someone unamit pale nje donda kukuambia ingia kwa mati naenda sijui wapi. When you let them touch you, there's a reason as to why they're touching you, and there's a reason why they're touching specific places.
And that's why the stakeholders have come out strongly to protect the girl child. Even just a mere glare at this girl, you can be
in a suggestive
for that.
way. A suggestive way.
But how do you defend yourself? It was not suggestive.
No, we'll just make sure we take a photograph of how you're looking at me. Then we decide. Yeah, probably something else we can talk about apart from body awareness is relationship skills.
Yeah. How do you relate? The way you relate when you are with your fellow ladies, girls, is different from the way you relate when you are in a group of boys.
Yes.
How you relate with your father is different from how you relate with your uncle. Many girls have been abused in the name of this was a relative and you trusted him or her so much. Not only girls, even boys.
Yeah, talking about relationships, one time when I was graduating and there was a cake. And so, you know the way you cut cakes and you go feeding people and you go... So I fed my aunts, my grandmom, and my little brothers. But when it came to my dad's turn, he insisted that he wants to pick the cake himself.
Yeah.
And it really disturbed me. Why? But then looking at it from the relationship skills point of view, unajua hakutaka ile. I think my father falls in.
He also has a name to defend.
Yes, he has a name to defend. I'm a daughter, not a son.
Yeah.
He's a dad. And so looking at how relationships should be, or that even, because my dad falls in the category of people, we can call them the traditional dads. So you definitely, and you know the traditional dads, and in my culture you have to, the things you have to observe definitely. So you really wouldn't expect my dad to go. I thought he would for just that one time. I mean, it's his daughter's graduation.
For you, it was just something normal.
Yes, but for him, he didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't even think about it. And then my grandmother, it's like my grandmother was watching. She was really waiting to see. Yes, she was really waiting to see what kind of a relationship exists here such that this would happen. Luckily, he refused and he said he would pick the cake himself. And yeah, so you're looking at the relationship skills. You know, when you hit a certain age, you definitely kuna your difference.
We shall look at forms of parenting later at some point, but there is this one style where you get that some parents they treat their children more like friends than children, which is very dangerous.
Oh, you will tell us that in our next segment when we will be talking about parenting.
Yeah.
So when you talk about relationship skills, then it means kama ulikuwa unalala na brother yako as you were growing up.
Yeah.
When you're 15, do you still sleep with your brother?
It changes.
When you 20, bado unalala na brother yako?
But I've seen a young boy actually after my Form 4. This boy could sleep in their mother's room.
Okay.
They had a single room, a single bed. They stayed alone.
Oh, mama na mtoto.
And it's a big boy.
Okay. So
but then it's not advisable. It's not advisable.
Because it's a son and a mom. So what are we supposed to, what is the son going to be learning?
How is the society reading it?
How do, kwanza hapo kwa nyumba, how do they, because at that age, after high school, definitely the mom cannot be changing in front of the son.
Yeah, sure.
Na sasa usiku there's changing, I don't even want to remember it. Anyway, what we are basically saying is sex education entails talking to our, the adolescent, the young adults, you talk about to them about relationship skills. How are they supposed to relate when they're with strangers? How are they supposed to relate wakiwa na wanaume, if it's a girl? Then even the boy, how do they relate with the girls? Because at this point, when we're talking about relationship skills, we are not only talking about the girls alone. Ni vile tu girls who are wako fragile sana. But even the boys are affected. So they should know. Because it is hapa kwa relationship skills ndio eventually tunajua. Mtoto wako atajua, mtoto wako ama yo sana atakuwa anajua kurusha mistari, ama ni wale watakuwa wanangoja dem ndiye amsukume.
Talking of the same, nimekumbuka these kids behave differently at different age groups, at different ages. Like my boy, 5 years, akitoa nguo aende kuoga, hataki tupatane na yeye.
Okay.
And he's comfortable me in the house here, I'm washing, like not me.
Oh,
But at some point, atafika point penye sasa ataona no, it should be the dad.
Yes.
In my side, and not there, not mom, not my sister. Not
your sister and not auntie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of my brothers when they went through, you know, they were very young. And so they are crying and they're in pain, but I can't do anything because I'm trying to ask, what is wrong? Whatever happened, I was not around. So trying to get, what is wrong? Baba amesema hizi ni za boys. I'm trying to understand. And then I'm trying to understand, what is this that is?
Yeah, for boys.
For boys.
And you are curious.
I'm very curious because he's crying, he's in pain.
Yeah.
So I'm asking, what is wrong? How can we help you? Tukusaidie aje, relieve aje hii pain.
You cannot understand that at this age now.
Yes. Then eventually, when I get to know what has happened,
yeah,
I'm like, come here. Mi nataka kuangalia ni nini unanialia hapa na hii kidole. Hapana. Baba alisema. So you can imagine the healing process the way it was, and it's sasa hata kuoshwa ni yeah, so basically I think that
was walaki kama walioga.
Si baba yao alikuwa anaosha. Si baba yao aliwaosha. Si walielewana ni boys affair.
Aliharibu.
So walielewana ni boys affair. So how your baby girl or your baby boy relates to other people depends on vile utawafunza relationship skills. Watakuwa wana relate aje na watu, wakiangalia huyu mtu ana decide. Unajua, I don't know whether this falls in the category of when your mother would give you ile macho ya nimekuona, endelea vivyo hivyo, tutapatana mbele. I think probably as we talk about relationship skills, pia we can also talk about communication skills.
Very key.
Very key. Have you taught your children to say kama hataki kitu? How do they say it?
Kama hataki kitu.
How do they say no? How do they say yes? Are they comfortable with a certain, can they shout? When do they shout?
I've at this stage, I've arrested some emotions. So as these kids, they can't just throw words.
Okay.
One, they have to appreciate for any little favors that come their way. But not that the way they talk to their mother is different from the way they talk to a stranger. So si kila mtu anakuja alafu anawapea kitu ana appreciate. No. Because nini kesho wataenda nini wapatana na stranger, awapea nini vitu, awaentice na waenda kufanya nini.
Coach,
so they have to.
Yeah, coach, mi usema hapa kwa communication skills ndio muhimu. Vile tu utafundisha mtoto wako, they will know. At this point ndio unajua kuambia a boy or a girl, a no is a no and not a girl's no is yes. Unaona? Ndio ile hata akichesiwa mara ngapi, akikatiwa mara ngapi, because unajua definitely adolescents lazima watakatiana, especially kwanza to adolescents, you get into their young adults and then the youth, when you want us now to get married by force by fire. It all starts with how tulifunzwa aje kucommunicate. Tulifundishwa kusema no aje such that we can. And I think this also, when we'll be talking about domestic violence at some point, today when you tell a young man no, they hack you to death. Why?
Because for a long time they've understood a girl's no could mean yes.
I don't think so. And in my opinion, and we'll discuss this, so just hold on to this. In my opinion, we have failed to show the kids that there's a moment when the answer is no.
Yeah, but at what age do you introduce that?
Good question. So we'll talk about that when we're talking about our segment, in our other segments of parenting. But it is important to learn the communication skills. Ujue mtoto wako ajue at what point anafaa kusema no, at what point anafaa kusema yes. Ajue kuread emotions za mtu.
Na si wasichana wote watasema no and they mean that no.
Hapana, usianze hapo, usiende hapo. Let us just leave it at a no is a no. The fact that I said no today on Thursday,
nawe kwamba hapo hivyo we should teach our kids from an early age wajue kusema no na ibaki no.
No. Na kama ni yes ni yes. Lakini The fact that I've said no today on Thursday and I said yes next week on Thursday does not mean that my first no was a yes. It means I've had 7 days to think. Now, attached to communication skills is the negotiation skills. Daddy, can I have this? Mami, nataka kwenda kucheza kwa kina. At this point ndio tunaanza hapana, because wewe kama mzazi unamuona the developments and you're afraid, you don't know. I was just asking my friend the other day, I think she might have a 10-year-old. So nilikuwa namuuliza, have you started sex education with your daughter? Akaniuliza, sasa nitasema aje?
Naanza aje?
You know, so nitasema aje? So hapa ndio the negotiation skills. Ukisikia wale watu wanaambiwa they are a good negotiator. Negotiation skills, whether we get things, how we get it, what we compromise.
Like my boy is very good at that. Very, very good. Atakuja niambie, Dad, I want a toy, but not today.
Oh, negotiation. No, sasa nani hiyo alijifunza wapi?
Kuna toy niliona pale kwa supermarket. Unibaie Sunday. That's on a Monday. Anasema nini? Sunday unibaie.
So
Sunday ikifika akiona kama nini you are not ready. Kwambia, Dad, nimekuongeza 2 other weeks.
And that's a 5-year-old.
That's a 5-year-old. You are indebted.
So this is because akijua negotiating skills, atajua how to make an informed choice of a relationship.
Sure.
Ataamua what am I bargaining for kwa hii relationship? Nitakula fair na ni survive ama ni okay? So and such like so negotiation is very important. Ajue how to bargain for what they want if they're getting into a relationship, because we cannot pretend adolescents are not in relationships. They are. So as they walk into that relationship, what have they bargained for themselves? To get into sex in the first place, lazima kuna negotiation. So
inategemea vile umeuza sera yako.
Inategemea na vile utauza sera, vile sera zitakubalika. So sera zikikubalika, na mimi mwenye nimesikia sera, I also need to know what is in it for me.
How do I benefit?
How do I benefit? Hizi sera zimesemwa tu ndio nishushe bendera ama
but in a relationship, a boy girl relationship, who benefits? This boy, that girl.
You have a good question. Who benefits in a relationship? Especially the adolescent relationships. Who benefits? But do you also realize, this will pick another time, adolescents don't get pregnant by their age mates. Very few of them do. They don't actually relate with their age mates. Very few of them do. That's
so ni watu wakubwa wanateka advantage.
Yes, kwa sababu wanajua huyu mtoto hana negotiating skills, hana proper communication skills za kusema no ni no na yes ni yes. Another thing you could talk about when you're talking to your child about sex education is violence prevention.
And that's why these kids, even at that tender age, wafunzwe self-defense skills.
Yes.
Ni muhimu hawa watoto wakijua hata karate.
Na ni muhimu akijua the signs that this is a dangerous. Unaona kama like I was giving you your illustration ya donda anakwambia ingia and they are touching you inappropriately. You know when you protest kuguzwa, they become violent. They become violent.
Na watajua hapa I've gone beyond their boundaries.
Yes. Huwa wanajua, it's just that it just depends on how. Sometimes I sit in the matatus and wonder, why do these women allow these men to touch them inappropriately? Na ukikataa wanaanza kurusha matusi. So how do you get to navigate around this? Especially the young adults and the adolescents. Wata navigate aje wajue hapa there's a potential violence. These are no-go zone. Even when they are relating now, watu wanawahack to death.
Sure.
How do you know that this is a potential violence case and let me try to walk away?
I've watched a movie where this lady with their daughter, they are gang raped.
Oh
by 7 strong men. Mpaka mtoto anajisahau, mtoto ajui anything that is happening, mama na somebody comes in court and defends these rapists. Sema nini, they didn't do anything bad.
What? Yeah, finally we can talk about decision making. Just to go about it quickly. It's important to kufunza watoto decision making. Ajue kama akisema yes ni yes mpaka mwisho, na akisema na anajua ni kwa nini amesema yes. Decision making skill is a very important skill. Ndio itatusaidia ku take care of so many eventualities. Because decision making ndio inamsaidia kujua, oh, this is a violent scenario. Let me walk away. Okay? So I think also one of the things we should talk about when you're talking about sex education is decision making. Your son or your daughter ajue how to make a decision on their own, and probably the decision should be good for them.
And that's why it's important for parents to involve their children in major family decisions.
Yes.
So as they feel part of the project. Umeamua unataka kujenga and we impose it on them, they can't support.
Yes.
Wao waone muhimu wawe kujenga. Unajengea nini?
Unajengea nini?
Hapa tunaishi.
Iko tu sawa.
Kuna wifi, kuna kila kitu hapa hivi, alafu nataka utupeleke wapi? Mashamba. Kwa nini?
Okay, yeah.
But you call them on a round table, alafu mnakaa mnaongea, it makes sense to them. So they support any move you make.
Yeah, we've run out of time. But we appreciate the fact that we have already started our first series of sex education. Stay tuned for more of sex education to adolescents, young adults, and even the youth in our next series, which will come the same day, next week, same time. You have been with me, your host, Melvin Ouma.
And ONKOBA.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Like he said, my name is Rain, and I've spent a large percentage of my relatively short life talking about sex ed and learning about sex ed. Over the past couple years, I've spent weeks and months traveling across Canada and across North America, talking to people my age from around the world.